Yo, what is up guys and welcome, it's InfernoKun back with another Walking Dead video about episode 3, Broken Toys. I have a very special video with a very special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, SmackNPie here. You already know who I am. Make sure to subscribe. I need help. Please subscribe. Anyways, today we're gonna do something really interesting, something that we haven't done forever. We're gonna do it something like this. Both of us, me and Inferno, we're gonna do our 3 picks, 3 people who we're gonna think are gonna die by the end of episode 3, and we're gonna explain a little bit. So, is that all cool?
Yes, indeed. Should be a pretty cool video. I normally do these quite a lot, and they're very fun to make because you get to talk about who's gonna die and why, and you might be wrong, but that's okay because it's all fun.
Yeah, because death in video games is always fun. Yay. Without further ado, let's do this.
Okay, so starting off kind of light, I guess. This one was kind of a hard one to go ahead and think about because it could happen beforehand or it could happen in the episode itself. And that is Sophie. That's, of course, Minerva's twin sister, also Ten's adoptive sister. So we know that, of course, the Delta camp, they took both Sophie and Minerva. But so far in the trailer and everything else, we only heard about Minerva. So there has to be something that's going to be a big point of what happened to Sophie, because looking at Minerva, she's over here, she's all well, she's doing what she has to do. She's probably on the side of the Delta. But looking at Sophie, you might have something else going on there where she is already dead. But then we have the option of her actually dying in episode 3, which could lead to some other plot points. Like, let's say, looking at if she's already dead, you kind of go into why would Minerva still want to be at the Delta and be on their side. But then if she's still alive, you would kind of go into whether or not she's actually there to go ahead and protect Sophie. Minerva is, and that could be a really cool dynamic that I think could benefit either way, with her either being dead already or her actually dying in episode 3. What do you think about that?
That is a really interesting pick, Sophie, because we haven't heard anything. We got no concept arts. We don't know how, what's the overall, apart from that she's Minerva's sister and so-called Tennessee's sister. Nothing more than that. So it would be really interesting to learn more, and I'm pretty sure we're going to learn more about Sophie in episode 3, either from Minerva, from Lily, or who knows, she might have been. But as you said, this is a really interesting pick. But if you were to ask me, I'm gonna say she's already dead. To me personally, she doesn't have that much to give to the story, to the plot.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it's a really interesting pick nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely.
And for me, number 3, it is, no surprise, Willy. Now, listen, okay, I don't need any reason, I don't have any reason, because this sucker needs to die by episode 3. Willy, I cannot stand him. I cannot literally, this kid, though his logic, whatever, I cannot stand it. But all jokes aside, I personally think that apart from Ruby and Ten, he's most likely to die because of his rage. You all remember Mitch, because of his rage that got him into getting close to Lily, which, lead to his death. Even though I hated Mitch, it's still rest in peace, Mitch. I think that, Mitch's death is gonna get into Willy's head. He's already in his head, and that's gonna let him do some stupid stuff, some stupid actions, whether here in the school, outside, or in Delta, doesn't matter. He's gonna die by the end of episode 3, and people are gonna be like, oh my god, the literal god died. I don't care. I just want him to be dead. What do you think about this, Inferno?
Yeah, I definitely do agree with Willy actually dying. Now, he doesn't really add that much to the story at this point. He was really just, he really complimented Mitch very well. Now we have Mitch gone, I'm kind of wondering, what's next for Willy as a character. Obviously, that beef with Ten's gonna happen, so that could be it for that. And it seems like, everything that Willy has been doing hasn't really helped out. He's just been so, violent for no reason, and it's not really helping out. So it makes sense that Willy will actually be one to die. And, not saying that I wouldn't really miss Willy, to be honest. I wouldn't it wouldn't really be that much to me. He was alright. He wasn't anything like amazing. He was just there for me at least. So I definitely do agree with the whole Willy dying aspect.
Great. But one more thing I want to add is that you said that he was okay. For me, he was not. And he's not. I just can't stand this dude. But yeah, let's move on.
All right then. My number 2 would have to be either, or not really either, terminally, whoever you did not choose to save, Violet or Lewis. Now, this one is, of course, probably on everybody's list because the terminate characters are kinda slated for death in a way, but this could actually be different, Having to save them in episode 2, that's an option. It was a lot different because they actually survived, and I think that they will probably, one of them will end up dying at the very end. Obviously one of them, whoever you did not choose to save from Lily's abduction would end up dying. It would definitely make a lot of sense for that to happen, and because these two characters are just so good, having one actually die would definitely impact the players, because at the end of episode 2 we're kind of like, oh no, they took either Violet or Lewis, and it kind of hurt you a little bit, but it wasn't as impactful as a death. But I feel like they're just holding them as of right now to kind of just go ahead and do that first initial impact, and then at the end of episode 3 do that final impact where they end up dying. So what do you think about either Violet or Lewis, whoever you did not choose to save, dying?
That's a really interesting thing. You see, this is a really good call because having either one to die by the end of episode 3 is really gonna impact player on a high level, especially if they kill the one that you didn't choose or the one you did choose. Either way, like let's say if you choose Violet and Lewis dies, or if you choose Violet and Violet dies, like in both dynamics, like obviously the one you chose obviously gonna hurt a lot, but like if you're saving one person for the finale of episode 4 and killing the other person so that it's all between Clementine, AJ, and the person you saved, that has to be one of the best writings that Telltale ever did, because let's face it, Telltale did that. Telltale wrote the story. Skybound just took over, and we thank Skybound for that. That's epic and that's great. But for me personally, like if you ask me like, well, that's gonna happen, I personally don't see it happening, because I think they're saving the deaths, like the emotional deaths, for episode 4. But hey, that's just my opinion, but I would love to see that either way.
Yeah, I actually see that perspective where if they were to die in episode 4, it'd be a lot more impactful because it's the final episode, therefore you need some big deaths there. But episode 3 is kind of like a possibility as well, because your goal is to save them, and if you were to not save them, then that could be that. So either way, I think it'll be very, very, very nice.
Yeah, for my number 2 pick, now this was a tie between 2 people. I can choose 2 people, that's fine. I can choose 2 people for 2nd pick. Abel, okay, and James. Now, listen. At first, I was just adding Abel into the list, and I was like, no, that's not enough. But then I was like, okay, let's add James to the list. So I just added both into the 2nd list. The thing is, if you pick Abel to die, like I've been calling this, that Abel's gonna die by the end of episode 2. Either he's gonna die by the torture of kids, which is not gonna happen. Either he's gonna die while helping us, or either he's just gonna give his life up for like, freak it, I've been bad my whole life, and well, that's the way I'm going, which is not gonna happen, but it's a possibility. It's interesting as to how people are gonna react when he's gonna die while giving up his life for the safety of the kids. That's the first. Kids, not kiss. Kids. The second one is James. The reason I think James is gonna die because of the trailer. The trailer we saw yesterday. We've seen 2 things. Number 1, and we already know about this, Clementine going in Walker's guts by the end of the trailer, and Clementine wearing the Whisperer mask. Making a choice between these 2 and letting James come along with us, he's definitely gonna he's open to threat. So either he's gonna be brutally injured by the end of episode 3, or I'm calling it he's gonna die by the end of episode 3, because we need some deaths so that players are like emotionally invested and come back for episode 4, so we can have more impactful deaths in episode 4, and in episode 3 they can leave us with Abel's and James dead. What do you think about this?
Yes, that was actually my 3rd pick right there, but I have somebody to compliment that. But Abel was definitely one that I thought was definitely gonna die probably, somewhere in episode 2, but, episode 3 is also a possibility because he's been through a lot so much. He's been pushed out the window, lost his arm determinately, and he's been messed up by Clementine and AJ and even Rosie. So there's a lot going on with Abel where he's just taking so many hits at once, and he's probably going to end up biting the dust in episode 3. And it's really interesting to go ahead and think about it, because which way will he go? Will he turn on the Delta camp and help out the boarding school, or will he not do that and continue to be loyal to them? Because you gotta realize that, Lily left him there to pretty much die for the most part, or at least, left him to be in the custody of the boarding school kids. So will he actually turn against the Delta? He was a little bit hesitant in the trailer we saw. He was, still kind of like, oh, Lily won't give up the kids and everything like that. So I'm wondering, will he still stay evil? And will he die in some other way? Or will we have the choice to go ahead and either let him die or just, keep him alive or things like that? So it's a lot of things that can go on with Abel. And I'm not sure if killing him would be too early or would it be just the right amount of time, because he has made a huge impact on the season so far, but I can definitely see some potential in him for more if he does not die in episode 3.
Exactly, yeah. What I'm really interested in Abel is that is he gonna find that balance? Is he gonna go from evil to, a little bit lighthearted? That's what I'm really looking forward to see. That's the same with Lily, and that's the same for me at least. That I'm really looking forward to. What are they're gonna do with Abel? Because we know that the kids are going to Delta. So what are they gonna do with Abel? What he's gonna do while we're there, while we're fighting? Is he gonna come with us? Is he gonna still be in the basement or whatever they've locked him up? Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
And I also want the hard part for your other option of James. I'm not entirely sure. It definitely makes sense for him to actually maybe die in this episode, because he is injured. You saw with the bandage on, he is injured, so it could possibly lead to something there. And Clementine actually taking the role of actually controlling the walkers instead of James is a little bit of a head scratcher there. So I'm kind of on the fence. I would definitely really, really be sad if James were to die, because he has been a help, and it seems like he would actually help even more in episode 3. So that would definitely be an impactful death. I don't know if I would feel like it would be a bit too early, but if they went ahead and killed him off in episode 3, I would definitely feel impacted. Maybe a bit cheated, but I would definitely be impacted by his death.
Yeah, because let's face it, there are only 4 episodes. If there were 5 episodes, I would have saved him for episode 4 ending, but there are only 4 episodes, so they have to clear all the second parties just so that we can have higher people for episode 4 finale. Because episode 4, we know it's it's going to be mostly around Clem and AJ only. We can add Myler or Lewis into that mix, but yeah, I'm it's not something I'm really it's going to happen 100%, but it's like I said, 50-50. Abel 50, James 50. Both of them, like you said, James' death is going to be impactful. Why? Because in episode 2, he had a mass following already, and people are loving him already. People want him as a romance option. First of all, the reason I added him to the list is because he's the last thing I'm looking forward to. But his death would definitely be impactful nonetheless. Yeah. One
thing that I wanted to point out for the most part, obviously Abel was my third one, so I can't really go with that. I also had some thought about, other characters that could possibly die. And I was thinking, Rosie. Kind of a stretch there, but the dog, Rosie, Marlon's dog, could possibly die. I mean, I can see it happening for the most part. Rosie has done, she bit Abel for the most part. She kind of helps out every now and again. And I'm not entirely sure how long they want to keep Rosie. Is she going to help out? I don't know, because it's kind of tricky, because you don't want to bring a dog to a stealth op, okay? She'd be barking, obviously would, throw him off. So will she just stay at the boarding school and survive the whole season, or will she end up, coming along or dying? It's something to think about. If we're gonna end up possibly leaving at some point, maybe something doesn't go right, Rosie could end up dying. Hopefully protecting Clementine or AJ or somebody, that would definitely be awesome. So what do you think about Rosie so far? Has she been a little bit underutilized. What do you think? I don't know.
Rosie is definitely like one of those characters. I can call it characters because it's a dog that has like this massive following. It has like capability to do something big, but the writers and the developers like don't know what to do with that. I personally, like you said, like Rosie being alone in the school while we're in Delta. I mean, she can play with the Able. That's one possibility. In all seriousness, definitely you cannot bring her to stealth missions, especially when you're walking in Walker's guts or wearing a Walker's mask. Like, how is that gonna help? Like, one thing I'm gonna call out on this one is that we've seen in screenshots of James and Clem, where you can see James getting shot on the hand or whatever. That part, I think, is where we had Rosie, because remember, as Sim said, we can take Rosie outside to catch the scent, whatever. So maybe we've been hunting outside and we got someone in the woods that we got fight against. James got shot, we killed some people, Rosie gets shot, she dies. That might be one of the possibilities. It's a stretch, I know, but it's something nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's definitely something to think about. So, what is your final one?
Oh, this is juicy. I mean, people are gonna be like, fam, this is too early, but Minerva. Okay, listen. Now, I can't help but think about, Minerva, her looks, her eyes. I mean, her weapon. So basically, what I was thinking about all of this is, first of all, we didn't know that Minerva was gonna appear in episode 3. I kind of hated that they showed her in episode 3 trailer, because it would have been a fantastic surprise. Well, at least for me, fantastic surprise. I would have been dead by that time, but now that they showed her and her existence, I think first of all she's gonna make a huge impact, because we know that she's brainwashed. She's Lily's personal guard. In that screenshot you can see she was standing behind Lily. So I personally think that Minerva, we're gonna help her in some way. Like, we're gonna try to get her mind back. Like, this is Violet, this is Clementine, we're trying to help her, the good guys, you're being with bad guys, you're a bad person, whatever. And first of all, she's gonna play along, and at the end, she's gonna give her life for the safety of us, for the school kids, especially for the safety of her previous girlfriend, Violet. There's another possibility of her death. The how it's gonna play out on the Reddit. I found this on the Reddit, but someone said in a theory that there is a high possibility that Clementine versus Minerva might be a thing. Minerva is all mad because Violet is with Clementine now, the love triangle, and that might brought a fight between Minerva and Clem. That would be so dirty from Clementine's side, because then Minerva's death is now on Clem's hands. How Violet is going to react to all of this, that is something I personally want to see. Clementine, well, not happily, but it's like, you got to do what you got to do in an apocalypse, right? So it's like we have to kill Minerva because she's losing everything, and it's the only way to give her peace, and that's why Clementine kills her, and that's gonna brought a lot of bad things to Violet, and the relationship between Violet and Clementine is gonna go to some shizzle. But at the same time, I'm calling this a week because I don't think that writers are gonna do injustice with the players. If they're gonna do so bad, like so much drama on Violet and Clementine, there has to be something more with Lewis and Clem. So it's like, people are gonna say, oh, they have more preference in this side. So anything is possible. These were my predictions. I think Minerva is gonna die by the end of episode 3, which is gonna leave a huge impact on by the end of episode 3. And if your theory of Lewis or Violet's death by the end of episode 3 happens, think about it. Minerva's death affecting Violet, and then Violet's death by episode 3. How many deaths are we gonna have in episode 3? That's crazy. But what do you think about this?
Yeah, that's definitely, either way, I think it'll be pretty impactful to, something at least involving Minerva, whether it be her dying, or I saw an interesting little comment in my comment section one time talking about what if Minerva didn't die, but she, or at least somebody in the Delta, caused 10 to die. And that could be an interesting dynamic, because we have 10 over here, he's feeling bad about, coming out and possibly getting Mitch killed. So what if he were to come along to the op and he sees Minerva over here trying to be with the Delta, but he isn't really having that. He wants his sister back, and he ends up possibly getting killed, and that could be something that actually snaps Minerva out of her whole brainwash thing. That was definitely something that would be really interesting, because if we end up in the episode learning more about 10, we've already been with him since episode 1 into episode 2. We know a good bit about 10, and learning more about him in episode 3, and then having that whole scene where he possibly dies and Minerva's like, what have you done to my brother? That would be an interesting thing to happen, and I'm not entirely sure which one I want to happen. Would it be just 10 dying or Minerva dying? It's definitely really cool to think about, what would happen in either situation. So I feel like if Minerva were to die, it wouldn't be as impactful. Yeah, it would impact, Violet or Lewis or whoever else in the boarding school, because, Minerva, who has been there for a little bit, died. But us as a player, we don't know much about Minerva. We're going to learn about her, obviously, in episode 3, but it isn't as much. Introducing somebody to kill him off, at the end, it wouldn't be as impactful as I think, having 10 possibly die, and then that impacting us as a player because we know 10 a little bit, and then that impacts Minerva and everybody else. So that's what I think about that.
Great, interesting, and that's why I'm not so confident about it. I should have added this into the third one, so that second and first should be the one strong. But you bring a really good point of 10. I wanted to add him to the list of this. I should have had that 50-50 for Minerva and 10, because like you said, people that are emotionally invested in 10, I've seen playthroughs of people even after what Tennessee didn't listen to us and what got everything, getting Mitch killed or whatever, people were still like, it's okay, dude, we understand, it was your sisters, you're a kid, definitely understandable. So I wanted to add one more thing to this. I know I'm backtracking a little bit, but there is a high possibility of like you said, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, but what if the cause of 10's death was Clementine? I know I'm all over the place, but hear me out. Clementine is the cause of 10's death, and which lead to Minerva being all angry on Clementine, which lead to Clem killing Minerva, so we can have a lot of that. Listen, I know people are gonna be like, you got some problems, you're just killing every character. I know, but listen, it's Walking Dead, it's Apocalypse, I want to see some deaths. It makes me emotionally invested into the story, and I mean, there are a lot of people to care about. And just one more thing I want to add about Tennessee is that from episode 1, I'm not that emotionally invested in him, just like I'm not emotionally invested in Lewis from day 1. He's great and all that, but I'm not that emotionally invested in Lewis. The same goes for 10. The opposite goes for Willy. I hate that dude. I cannot stand him. And well, same goes for James. Oh, dang, I hate a lot of characters, but that was the thing I wanted to add. I can see 10's death, but I'm thinking either of Minerva or 10's death, either they're both gonna die, either they're both gonna be alive, but it's gonna happen something one or another. They're gonna balance each other. If one's dead, it's gonna be because of the other, or the other way around. But yeah, it's interesting nonetheless, because what is episode 3 is all about at this point? Minerva, Delta, right? Because episode 4 is gonna be more about Clem and AJ and being the final days. So yeah. Any final thoughts about episode 3?
Yeah, I definitely do see that whole Clementine versus Minerva aspect being a very, very interesting concept, especially if you went with Violet as a romance option. It just opens up so much in terms of people who are invested in Violet as a character, because it ends up affecting 10, Minerva, us, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff that kind of just builds upon each other and snowballs up, and it's really, really interesting to go that way. So I can definitely see that happening, whether it be just, the whole Clem versus Minerva because of Clem actually causing 10's death, or maybe even just, Minerva ends up snapping out of the whole thing because of 10's death. Either way, I think those are just, both good options, and I hope that they actually go with one of those, or maybe not, because we kind of, are talking about it and maybe knows what's going on, but that would definitely be really interesting to see what happens. I think a whole Minerva versus Clementine thing could actually be pretty cool, especially, we have a lot of stuff going on, especially with Clementine wanting to possibly could end up fighting Minerva, then she has to go ahead and go through Lily. A bunch of stuff. It's definitely a lot. So hopefully we get to see a lot from Minerva, and hopefully she is a great character, because I would definitely love that. I'm really hoping that just not everybody dies. Like, I hope there are some people who, you know, survive the season in a way. It's kind of weird because this is the final season, therefore leaving things open can be a bit like, what's going on? But I think of it like the whole ending of season 1. You know, obviously people who live, like Omid and Krista, they lived at the end of season 1. That was wrapped up pretty well. I did like that. So hopefully things can go in a direction that leaves us with enough deaths that impact us as players, but also leaving it open for endings that could be bittersweet, or maybe not, because hopefully it could end up to your choice. That's all I gotta say.
Interesting, because, you know, I mean, they have to have some character from episode 1 to live till episode 4 to make it more emotional, because somebody's got to be there with Clementine when she's gonna die. Okay, I know it's a stretch. She's not gonna die. That, I mean, maybe not. It's something to talk about later. But yeah, those were my pick. Those were Inferno's pick. Just to add one more stuff to all of this. Here's the thing. Like, what is the main purpose of episode 3? Episode 1 was to find a home. Episode 2 was to maintain that home. Episode 3 is kind of sort of protect your home, right? The whole thingy going on, right? To protect your home.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, because, you know,
much.
finding your home, maintaining your home, protecting your home. So that's going to leave us to the finale of episode 4. But it is interesting. This final season has been so good. And it's like, we want it, but we don't want to end it. Like, we don't want to have, like, whatever, like, this is great. So far, it's very great, good, amazing writing. I hoped that I wish that Telltale was here to finish their thing as their final project. But it is what it is. But that's pretty much it from me. Anything you want to say? How you felt about this collab? Because, you know, it's a multi-network thing. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about this?
Yes, I definitely love doing collabs a lot with anybody for the most part. It's definitely been really fun to kind of hear perspectives from other people like yourself. You bring up a lot of great points. Hopefully we can do a sequel.
Ooh, sequel. I see you. Oh, I'm all up for that. But it's the audience, it's the people who are watching. They gotta let us know if they want to see more of us doing. I mean, I'm ready for a weekly podcast with Inferno. One day. Well, he's kind of busy with really tight schedule, which, like, I'm kind of inferior when it comes to Inferno and me. So I'm the inferior one, because he's like fantastic in everything. So anyways, thank you so much for giving me your precious time.
Oh, thanks to you as well.
Not just 33 minutes that we were talking to each other, but before that. And I'm really honored to be in a video with someone that I've kind of looked up to in the past. It's not that I don't do that now. I mean, it's still the same, but it's like kind of friends, right? We're friends, right?
I guess.
I guess. All right. Okay, that's a rejection thingy, whatever. But anyways,
thank you all for watching the video. Go ahead and comment your theories about who's possibly gonna die in this episode. We'll see who's right. But in the meantime, go ahead and like and subscribe for more Walking Dead content on the channel. I am, of course, InfernoKun, and I'll catch you guys next time on The Walking Dead.